Welcome to this Times Techies webinar. I am Sujit John. I have with me my colleague Akhil George. The two of us will moderate this discussion that we are having in partnership with Capgemini. Today, we're going to discuss how telecom is becoming personalized in this age of smart consumers. The smartphone using consumer today wants personalized offers and bundles. This means telecom companies cannot focus only on providing connectivity. They also need to facilitate quality connected experiences. AI and Gen AI are enabling new opportunities, especially in customer care, customer service, and network performance. 5G too is expected to encourage telecom service providers to innovate on digital apps and services. To discuss this and more, we have with us four very experienced professionals today. We have with us Nishtha Kapoor. Nishtha is Regional Director for Asia Pacific at Eutelsat-OneWeb, the company that provides broadband satellite internet services in low Earth orbit. Nishtha is a SATCOM and telecom professional with over 15 years experience of business strategy, development, and marketing. At Eutelsat-OneWeb, she has worked across Africa, Middle East, and Southeast Asia, and has been instrumental in significant deals with big telcos, virtual network operators, and ISPs. Prior to this, she was with Airtel and Uninor, part of Norway's Telenor Group. Welcome, Nishtha.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
We have Vinod Hingorani. Vinod is Regional Director for South Asia at Telecom Italia Sparkle, a leading global telecommunication service provider. Vinod has over 3 decades of experience in the telecommunication IT industries in India, South Asia, and the Middle East, and has worked with some of the largest business firms in these regions. He's been with Telecom Italia Sparkle for almost 18 years now. Prior to that, he was with IT company Raritan and TMI Telemedia International. Welcome, Vinod.
Thank you, Sujit.
We also have Dr. Dileep Reddy Bolla. Dileep is an assistant professor at Nitte Meenakshi Institute of Technology. He's an academic and researcher with over 14 years of experience in wireless communication, embedded systems, cognitive radio networks, 5G mobile communications, Internet of Things, and computer networks. He has presented over 48 papers at international conferences, and he has 3 international patents and 2 Indian patents to his credit. Welcome, Dileep. And we also have Sandeep Arora. Sandeep is industry platform leader for telecom for India at Capgemini. He is responsible for strengthening telecom industry capability for the group, spanning industry and market development, account intelligence, asset building, and knowledge acceleration. He also works closely with Capgemini's global leadership team to help communication service providers to transform into digital service providers. Prior to Capgemini, Sandeep led technology modernization and innovation teams at Verizon's Tech Strategy and Planning Division. Welcome, Sandeep.
Thank you, Akhil. Glad to be here.
Those who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Nishtha, Vinod, Dileep, and Sandeep. So why don't we just jump in? This question is to all of you. How exactly is the telecom industry reshaping its services to cater to the modern, tech-savvy consumer who expects all this personalization in every external interaction? Who wants to go first? Nishtha?
Okay, you want me to go first? Ladies first, as always. Okay, so thank you. So once again, thank you and warm welcome and good evening to all the viewers and the listeners. The question what is asked is what is the personalization happening in today's modern world, or how the telecom companies are coping with this whole personalization thing. So today's time, everybody is an individual and the global citizen, and that's the whole dynamics where every communication industry is trying to kind of maintain or kind of bridge this thing. And personalization is becoming the major part of it, because each one of us wants our own thing in today's world. So whether it is a customer service, whether it is a productization, whether it is a special offers, it needs to be dedicated to you as an individual, because that's what we have been trained, that you need to understand yourself. And if I understand myself, my service provider also needs to understand me equally well. So all these telecom industries, all of us in satellite industry, are working towards making customers happy by providing experiences across, whether it is, like I said, in terms of products, in terms of services, in terms of every touch point when we talk to customers. Yes, it has become a very, very important part of telecom organizations today.
Vinod?
Yeah. Well, I would like to say that, most of the telecom carriers are offering AI and machine learning in their own manner for possibly automation is being offered in terms of chatbox, in terms of full ticket opening, customer service, customer support. Machine learning is basically understanding the behavioral pattern and the customer's preferences these days, where, everything is actually overall the world around us is more customer centric. And with big data coming inside, you should be able to offer something called the omni-channel strategy, where we can achieve, the customer goal. These days, smartphones are, you've got your WhatsApp, which is offering your Meta AI, and a couple of other chatbots, which are offering other things. So going forward, I'm sure with 5G coming inside into the network, everything is going to be personalized based on each individual's interest and the way they look at it and they perceive things. And us as telecom operators will be working on those lines as and when things open up and unfold.
Okay,
Yeah.
Nishtha, Vinod.
Adding on to Vinod, thank you, Akhil. I have admitted before, and Nishtha rightly said, and Vinod rightly pointed out. So we are all expecting a seamless communication. We cannot imagine 1 hour without internet, and that too, we are expecting a high-speed internet where in future we need the latency to be less than 1 millisecond. One, I agree with you, the seamless communication we have to experience. Two, we are getting a huge data in terms of customer calls or messages. So a lot of data is being there with the telecom industry that can be leveraged and that can be completely curated, and the services can be customized. A customer want a service that can be curated as well. So that possibilities can be looked into it. Then adding on the digital experiences and omnidirectional channel engagements has to be done, and more possibilities on the next generation networks with inclusion of AI as well as cloud into the system.
Okay, Sandeep?
All right. So the pleasure to be the last one. I believe most points have been covered, but I just want to reflect back a little bit. Telecom industry, it has become so critical, the need of communication in our day-to-day life. I mean, some people would even put it at par with water, right? It's become so essential. You can't survive a day without, getting your devices or your digital dosage. And telecom industry is doing all it can to really reorient itself with customer at the center. And if I could simplify the kind of changes the industry is making to really be more personalized in their offerings, I would put them in kind of two big buckets. One is the set of changes which are happening internal to telecom operators. Changes for example, the way they have been planning their network. Now, network, as you would know, probably is one of the most capital-intensive investment any telecom operator makes. And in the past world, this used to be a very rigid, very very like few years ahead of the time planning kind of exercise. Now it is changing completely with very strong focus on understanding customer needs, what are the areas where you're going to launch the network, and be more agile in the whole design and rollout of the network. Massive programs underway in that space. Another big change I see happening internal to telco organizations is the way they are relooking at their operations. And telcos, you would imagine, bring a lot of legacy, a lot of past systems from the 2G, 3G, 4G era. And a lot of that is still coexisting as much as you would want to retire 2G and 3G now. There is a lot of focus now in the operators to be more agile, to really look at their operations, trim it down, and be more responsive, ultimately to have a much faster time to market, because that's what consumers are expecting. So those are kind of big changes happening, which are internal to the telco providers. Now, there are also some changes happening which are slightly, more external. One I would call out here is this whole focus on the omni-channel experiences, because the days of fragmented customer experiences are completely over. Nobody expects that anymore. So these days, whether you're clicking on an online link, or you're tapping on your phone, or you're just walking into a store, expecting a seamless, frictionless journey is become a table stake. So that is very, very clearly one big change happening. And the last thing I would call out here is, the role of telcos in consumers' life is not anymore just providing a connection. Right? It is so much more than that. They have become almost a gateway to your digital life, right? You think of streaming, you think of gaming, your smart home tech, you name it. They are increasingly working on ways to be more relevant in the lives of consumers like you and I. So those are, I would say, to sum it up, a few internal and external changes they're making. And while they're making all of these changes, they're being ultra careful to be very focused on ensuring the right level of consumer data privacy and security. So a lot of changes, big changes happening to really aid the personalization journey.
A lot of big changes happening, more agile architectures, all of that. So before we go into the next question, staying on this one, Nishtha, I wanted to ask Vinod also. I'm sure Vinod will also, because both of you are in the telecom field. An example of personalization that might come, for instance, now I use Airtel, and Nishtha, you'll be happy to hear that. So now there's a defined set of packages and all that. Do you think a lot more packages and all offers, bundles and all could potentially come in future? What other kinds of personalization could happen?
Oh, yes, indeed. And see, the package bundling is the only start of the personalization for the telcos. So whether you are a postpaid customer or a prepaid customer, number of minutes of outgoing or incoming or the data usage. Now the step 2 is there for telcos or for the personalization. What streaming channels you are watching, what kind of music you are listening to, what kind of podcast you are listening to. So now the telcos are moving on to that app-based personalization. There's traditional telcos which are only selling the OG minutes. Now they have to redo everything, their strategy, and they have to build the customer life cycle in terms of, as rightly said by my co-panelist Sandeep, that morning you wake up and you start with your phone, and when you go to bed, you end with the phone. So that journey, so telco is only holding that attention off for you, right? So telcos have becoming the most important part of your life, apart from your parents and family, for that matter. So we, as a telco, need to make sure that we are talking to the customer in the language the customer wants us to talk to them. So bundling of minutes, bundling of offers, and not only that, the right kind of advertisement, for example, means I'm watching the right advertisement on my Insta. It has to be a collaborative efforts with Airtel and the likes of Facebook, So all these things are happening. Every day, telcos are working very closely with the organization, like whether it is Facebook, whether it is Apple, whether it is Microsoft. All of these telcos are very carefully, jointly working to make customers' experience seamless. What we are talking today.
Okay. Vinod, I was just asking Nishtha, I mean, specifically some particular personalization that you expect to happen.
Particular personalization?
Vinod, I was just asking Vinod, is he frozen? I think his image is frozen, no? He's
Yeah,
having some problem with the system.
Yeah.
Vinod? Yeah, Vinod is having a problem with his Sachin, can you just ask Vinod to re-log in? Meantime, Sandeep and Dileep, want to ask you this question on Gen AI. Everybody is talking Gen AI now. How do you see Gen AI playing a role in transforming customer care and service for telecom providers? Are there any early use cases that are already in use? Sandeep?
Yeah.
Dileep,
Yeah. Sandeep first.
Dileep, you want to go first?
Dileep,
yeah, please go first. Sandeep, after you.
All right. So Gen AI, Sujit, is I mean, you think about what it is really enabling for businesses. Fundamentally, it is bringing human-like interactions. It is bringing the understanding to better interpret natural language. It is bringing the understanding of the context behind a conversation. So those are the fundamental abilities GenAI is really bringing, not just to telco, but any other industry. Now, the way telcos are looking at this, especially in the context of the customer care, I would say in couple of different ways. One is use the GenAI capabilities to really augment the life and the experience of the agent, the care agent himself or herself. Right, give the tools to the agent to really spend time on the quality issues rather than getting bogged down in just quantity, number of calls, which can easily be automated now thanks to the GenAI. So that is one big area where you see a lot of development happening, which is augmenting the care agent's journey. The second I see is just making sure there is a greater focus on enabling the self-service part of the customer experience. And making sure the customer doesn't feel that jitter of sort of talking to a robot at the other end, and be a lot more natural, a lot more contextual, and you really get further along with the help of these self-serve tools.
And those are getting really better now, I think, no?
Much better with the GenAI. So that is second. And then I also think that GenAI is generally beyond the care functions. They're looking at how do I use AI capabilities along with GenAI to be a bit more proactive, right? So not look at care as a reactive function only, but how do I access all of this data which I have access to, and either resolve the issues before they happen or let customer know ahead of the time that if something is going to happen, the quality is going to be degraded, and just keeping informed, or plan X, plan Y, etc. So those are a few ways in which I think GenAI is already playing a big role at telcos. Now, in terms of the use case, I think the ultimate North Star here, Sujit, in my view, is that GenAI really becomes like a virtual human eventually. And you as a consumer ultimately just talk to that virtual human, and all of your care kind of challenges get resolved. We're not there entirely yet, but I think there are pieces in place, both in the agent-assisted and the self-service kind of situations, which will help us reach to that goal fast enough.
Adding on to Sandeep, what rightly mentioned, so GenAI has been used predominantly not only by industry, like starting from schooling and colleges, the kids started using it. So the Gen Z kids we're going to get. So even the coding becomes so easy for them. So in a prompt, they get the coding done. But the intellectual knowledge, what they need to get and understand the basics on it and work on it, has to be fine-tuned. Adding on to that, so the capabilities of GenAI for telecom can be made in really creating a chatbots or virtual assistants which are so much interactive and which are zero tolerance, and that give pretty much accurate results. So, and it will be very fast. Then second is the customer relations, what we are having, like you mentioned by Sandeep. So we try to call to the customer care, it get connected, it don't get connected, there are network issues. So why can't, like if we have an inbuilt Siri in iPhone, if I just say iPhones, Siri, please connect to customer care. So it will say that the waiting period is 5 minutes. You just have to wait, have a cup of coffee and come back, then you're connected. So days are going to happen like that, where the tech has to talk to the tech. So then the handshake will happen and things will be much more easier. Tech is fast, but still there are humans where we cannot able to deal too much fast. So there is some delay in that. That is one. And next is a proactive issue resolution. Like when you have an issue, so the issue may not be communicated properly by a human to the customer care, or he don't understand properly when we try to communicate. There is a gap there. If this GenAI can able to give the prompt saying that he is trying to say this one, you can able to give this answer, then it gives much more better relation for the customers as well. So fourth one is voice and speech analysis. where which tone I am talking, what way I am talking, what language I am talking. There is emotion involved in it. When we come to a bot, it doesn't understand the emotion. In future, that also may understand how the tone of the voice is, analyze the speech. Then based on that, the feedback can be given to the customer executive. So he'll understand better. Is it frustrated or he's anger or he's okay. So based on that, he can start the conversations and it will be much more uh, effective. So that's what I look at. Gen AI can do it. There are pretty more use cases maybe coming up. So right now, these four I just want to highlight.
In customer service, lots of opportunities already being piloted and scaled up. But beyond that, also many more use cases
Many
are
more
expected.
use cases are coming up. Yeah.
Nishtha and Vinod, give us an idea. I mean, of course, everybody is talking Gen AI now. Everybody wants these kind of features, and that Sandeep and Dileep just talked about. In terms of cost considerations, ROI, what is your sense? These are all feasible, scalable?
Very much, very much. Actually, the thing is, when you look at from a telecom's perspective, the ROI actually happens to be the bottom line when any marketing plan has to be executed. I'm sure Nishtha will agree to me that what is the ROI that the management wants to look at. So, like, naturally, we have to continue developing the artificial intelligence in the background. We got to improve our marketing campaign, which I think is one very important factor over here, especially looking at the population in India, which is close to 1.4 billion. So there you got to make sure that everybody comes to know that this is what you're offering and this is how it's going to benefit you. We'll have to adapt more specific to what the customer's requirements are and possibly offer change in plans that we have been offering in the conventional world, looking at the past few years that we have been offering. And I'm sure Jio is taking certain steps in doing that. And I'm sure even Bharti Airtel is looking at managing those plans so that they become more customer centric, because people, if you're using more of video, you're able to sort of give them more of video, and they're able to use higher bandwidth, give them higher bandwidth. Kids who are using more of games, they give them access to a better access to the servers which are available, so that they are able to basically do all this, and as and when they want, they're able to sort of reach it out. Because these days with internet being so fast, people have to have that response time less than 1 second, and if they don't get it, then they feel there's something wrong with your system. So as a service provider, as a telco, you have to make sure that you are just one step ahead at the curve to what your customer may be expecting. So then you might also possibly have to make sure that your customer's service is improved, your network background is stable, your IT and support infrastructure is stable, so that you're able to live up to that expectation of the customer. And then we expect an ROI when you're talking about bandwidth and requirements which are going to come up using this possibility in the world.
Yeah, Nishtha, that's true.
Yeah, so Sujit, I think I'll try answering it from the infrastructure perspective, how telcos and satellite operator like ourselves can reduce the cost and how it helps us reducing the cost. So for example, in our industry, satellite industry, generative AI is helping us designing the right kind of satellite itself. So what satellites we were designing, let's say 5 years back, the design has completely changed. That is the first thing. The second thing, for example, is the multi-orbit communication. So until few years back, we were only talking about geo synchronization, basically the geo satellites. Now we are talking about low Earth orbit satellites, which are much near to the Earth. So, and now, like step 3, we are talking about between geo and LEO satellites. So all of these things are possible because of the generative AI also. Now, what it does is, if we have designed our satellites so smart, the satellites are also becoming smart. The communication, what's happening in multiple orbits, then automatically it reduces the operation cost of a network, or the efficiency, it increases the efficiency of the network. And hence, we can really get the right return of the dollar we are spending, and then we can give the right services to the customers as well. So there is no jitter, for example, there is no latency in the communication, there is no call drops for that matter, if we are talking multi-orbit. And hence generative AI is indeed a boon for the telecom and the satellite industries, and reducing the cost in turn giving the best services to the customer.
Interesting.
Nishtha, what about directly? Can AI directly boost, the call quality all over the world? I think Vinod touched on that a little bit. I thought that was interesting. What's the direct effect of AI and
Yes,
call
yes,
quality?
indeed. The design of the network itself, like I said, now we are talking like a smart satellites, the LEO satellites. So low Earth orbit means the satellites are revolving around at a 1200 kilometer on altitude from the Earth, or from 500 to 1200 kilometer. And, they're covering the entire nook and corner of the Earth. So these satellites are going to increase the efficiency of the network itself. And that's why we say that high speed, low latency, less jitter communication right at the hilly terrain, which you cannot have it with the fiber, terrestrial or traditional network. Hence, AI, smart generative AI, smart satellite constellations, overall network efficiency, it increases. And we are going to see this happening very soon, means in few years' time. It's not very far, by the way.
And Akhil, if I could just
Please,
add to
please.
that. Yeah. So one other thing which is happening here is, you look at the network data, so much of network data that, telcos have access to. There's a lot of overlaying of that network data with the customer experience part of it these days. So you merge the two, you look at the call quality, you look at the coverage, all of that. And then now you're bringing in the GenAI dimension to this whole mix. So it's really the combination, like Nishtha alluded to, which is really creating new possibilities to, not just call quality, but elevate the entire customer experience by merging these two erstwhile separate worlds of the network data and the consumer data within telcos.
Because GenAI can understand and pass all this data. That's what you say.
Absolutely.
It was not possible before. And what about remote connectivity? That seems to be one of the biggest advantages, right, of using satellite constellations. How is that going?
You want me to take that?
Please, you can start.
That's my favorite. I represent that. Yes, indeed. So remote connectivity, that's two part of it. It's having a connectivity in the remote areas and having the real connectivity in the remote areas. Now, what do I mean by that? You can have a 2G, 3G connections over there over a fiber, but it's very difficult to have a high speed, low latency, broadband connectivity in the areas which is very difficult to reach. And it is not financially viable for any telco to lay fibers like in the regions like Northeast. Our friends in Northeast are always complaining about the real 5G speed network over there. And because it is very, very difficult and it is not cost effective for telcos. And here comes the companies like Eutelsat-OneWeb who are providing low latency and high speed services, fiber like speed with only a small terminal which is getting installed over your terrace or an open field. Now, what it does is it directly talks to the satellite at a 1200 kilometer altitude, brings that high speed technology and high speed internet broadband to your village. And hence, it's not only remote connectivities for what it does actually. What do we mean by having a remote connectivity? It just opens a plethora of activities for the rural areas, for that matter, whether it is in terms of tele-education, whether it is in some telemedicine. Everybody cannot walk into Apollo Hospital or AIMS Hospital, but doctors need to reach to the remotest part of the villages. Good doctors need to go there, right? We need good education in our villages. It's very difficult to have good teachers in our villages, which are like in the Northeast area, for example, or Himalayas. But we can have this tele-education without any jitter, without any latency or a minimal latency with the high speed. And what we are doing today is a web conferencing. But these things needs to go there in every part of our country, for that matter. Still there is 50% or almost now 50% of the population of the world is yet to have the high speed connectivity. In India, we are very good, that one of the best countries as far as the fiber is concerned, but still there are black spots in India as well. Not only that, we have our defense forces. One is the consumers, but our defense forces are also consumers. They face a lot of problem, and the kind of geopolitical situations we are living in today's time, we need to strengthen our forces. We need to strengthen our soldiers.
Yeah. Is it expensive?
This is what it helps.
Is it expensive setting it up?
Depends. No,
I also wanted to ask you that. Is it comparable to fiber or less than that, more than that?
I can say it is comparable. It is absolutely viable. It is absolutely, it's not expensive per se. It's not cheap, but it depends upon the scale. So, for example, how are we connecting? How are we giving the solution? So, cost will not be I would say, a roadblock to provide the services.
Because people will need to buy they need a receiver, and that's expensive, right?
So, Akhil, this is a little different. It is not right now satellite over phone. We are not connecting directly because that satellite phones are totally different. That technology is some 4-5 years kind of away. That is different. What we are right now talking about is customer is not buying any one phone terminal and all. So there's a different way of giving this service. It's more about solution. So for example, one terminal of mine can connect easily a village of, let's say, 50 houses, something like that. Yeah. So it's like there is one village, terminal is installed in the Sarpanch hut or office, Sarpanch office, an entire village is getting the connectivity.
So it's wireless and then wired. Yes. So it's like a mix.
And then we give this whole connectivity. Yes, the broadband connectivity. Okay. So it is called a community broadband. So in our parlance, we call it as a community broadband or a community Wi-Fi. So the entire village gets connected.
And what's the limit?
So we are currently providing 100 Mbps, kind of a speed on a satellite.
Okay.
Yes. So this is the transformation, and this is what we need to take it to the places where people are waiting for.
Sandeep, Dileep, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, Nishtha's passion jumps out. Clearly, there is a lot of potential. So, look, when I think about satellite, Akhil, I mean, to me, the big case of satellite is really about connecting the unconnected, right? And whenever we think about these kind of infrastructure-oriented technologies, we got to take a slightly long-term view. Because what are we doing? We're not calculating the ROI of this technology tomorrow. This is going to take time. I mean, to me, this is really about satellites not just providing connectivity to remote villages of India. They are really beaming hope to those corners, right? And the hope in terms of the essential services, right? The education, healthcare, right? You look at agriculture. We have so much of modernization yet to happen in our agri economy, right? Huge potential. So a lot of essential services still need to be enabled in the remote villages. And then when you think about the natural disasters or any kind of disasters, right? The backups needed in all of that. So to me, the reason for doing this is very, very strong. So it's not a question of if, it's more of a when question for India. And then also we have global examples with us. There have been operators, offering these services in other parts of the world, which have been working really well, including in some war kind of situations in the recent past. And then also our government has been quite supportive in launching the right kind of policy framework, etc. Nishtha spoke about the spectrum allocation. And then I think with the right kind of nudge of public-private partnerships, the economies will just fall in place. As long as we are really enabling the new possibilities for that erstwhile unconnected population, there is a long way for us to go in terms of untapping that potential.
Yeah, adding on to what Nishtha and Sandeep has told, I like to see a lot of potential again in sort of agricultural field where with the satellites, where we are seeing now drones have been deployed and there's no manpower to do the agriculture really in the villages. So the drones are taking care of it, which is operated by a human. So in case that also becomes autonomous and the pesticide spray and all lot of use cases of agricultural sector also may come up with satellite connectivity. Not everywhere, but having said that, we have a 5G connectivity where we have a black spots. This can be taken over. And also not only in the agricultural side in the villages, when it comes to urbanization here, when we travel from point A to point B in Bangalore, how good the connectivity is and how many number of users are using it. There are some black spots where the network can be orange or amber or red or green, whatever. So in that cases where like how we are switching over from Wi-Fi to telco, so in that case, the switchover may happen maybe in the future from the telco 5G to the satellite base. I am not sure about how exactly that's going to come up, but definitely that going to give a seamless connectivity. You can have safe ride of autonomous car sitting from point A to point B. It will take you without any drop in the connectivity. And last one, adding on to the disaster management also, like Sandeep has rightly mentioned, if any disaster happened, like we don't have the infrastructure itself will be not appropriate. In that case, this can be a plug-in and play, and it can be done within hours or within a days. That can be possible in the near future. And also the government policies and decisions, what has been done, has been not reached to the rural area. They're not aware because of high-speed internet connectivity. So this can be done, like Nishtha rightly mentioned. Imagine a person who is sick, need a surgery. So where the local doctor can able to just have an robotic arms, it will go over there and do the surgery, and it be done by the surgery from US, some or from India, some other doctor can do that. So think of the doctor has to travel and come all the way. By the time the patient will be having a lot of stress and pain. So that can be sorted by using this tech with satellite and telco combination.
I would like to just add my one bit also, addition to what Sandeep and Dileep has mentioned. When looking at the country like India, where you're going to see another 10 to 12 years, at least minimum of a good growth in terms of telecom, let it be satellite or let it be fiber, both these services will land up going hand in glove with each other, because the area that they want to cover, that is the Indian geographical area that you want to cover, let it be disaster management or let it be defense sector, or let it be any other reach that you may want to say, even if some cyclone is going to come towards the eastern, to the coastal side, and you need to keep the fishermen informed. I guess the arenas are multiple, and it's like we're just possibly just opened up just on the tip of the iceberg, and we got a lot of room to scope, room to grow, and a scope to grow at the end of the day, to make sure that we are able to reach and add value, taking both these services together, and make sure that not only as telcos or as satellite providers grow, but also as each and every individual who is there in this country is able to benefit from the growth of technology and telecom in the coming days and coming years.
Very interesting. Yeah, armed forces, Northeast, on the sea. As Dileep also mentioned, yeah, within urban area, which is something that we were discussing before the webinar started, with Nishtha pointing out that even within the city, and for probably something like a Kumbh Mela or something, these kinds of things are very useful, is it?
Indeed, huge potential means it's just imagination, where you want connectivity, where you want us to perform as a high speed, wherever you want. This particular satellite LEO technology becomes the go-to solution.
What about weather, Nishtha? Does that become an issue? Because I've heard it for the
wonderful question. Wonderful question.
Yes.
So you know how our terminals, for example, so I'm just taking example of how our terminals are designed. So these terminals are designed to cater to minus 50 degree to plus 50 degree Celsius of temperature. That kind of a rain fade features are already being designed. These terminals are designed to work in hardest of weather conditions. Of course, there would be some unfortunate condition wherein something really goes wrong, but all the terminals what we design, what we have right now, we have designed keeping these things in mind. For example, the mobility piece, what you were saying, in a disaster, for example, railways. We have seen recent lot of railway accidents what happens? First thing is the fiber connectivity goes down. Or what we saw in Joshimath, all these floods time we have seen. First thing is towers come down. What we do is we put our terminal in our car, you drive the car, reach to the disaster area, open it, plug the thing in your car. It actually runs with the car battery, by the way. You open that terminal, switch on, it's exactly 4 minutes, starts talking to satellite, and you have a high-speed connectivity right in that area. So it just opens up the communication channel with your people at the base, and then the recovery, everything becomes management of this whole area becomes so quick. So whether it is weather condition, we have kept these things in mind, and this is precisely, this potential is so huge using satellite communication that it will, telco and satellite communication will go hand in hand from here on, is what I very firmly believe.
Okay, I know we had spent a long time on satellites. Very exciting new development, I guess, which is why everybody's so excited. So coming back to, Vinod and Sandeep, tell us, of course, the demand for network coverage, consumer demand, all of that is for 5G in particular, growing, I'm sure, very fast. Give us an idea of the kind of, in terms of infrastructure, readiness and technology and all that, stability, security, enhanced user experience, where do we stand? How are these improving?
Actually, your
company is laying a new undersea cable or something, right?
Yeah, we're going to come up with Blue Raman cable, and we already partnered with Bharti. So we've got some more connections adding up to the whole process. So we're having the Blue Raman cable, which is going to bypass the Red Sea and have a direct connectivity from India to Europe. So it's basically Blue and Raman. So it's a Blue Mediterranean cable system, and the Raman is a India part of the cable system. There are 3 partners, that's Google, Omantel, and Telecom Italia Sparkle, who have laid this cable. So we're going to be landing it and should be active by Q1 of 2025. Coming back to your question, wherein we're talking about enhanced user experience with 5G coming into the picture, we all know that, when you talk about 5G, it's like 100 times faster download speed. You've got 10 times reduced latency. You've got 100 times network capacity for a greater traffic to hold, and you're able to cater to millions of end users. Now, with 5G also, the goal has to remain the same. As a telecom carrier, your approach towards the customer and being customer-centric has to be of prime importance, because going forward with the way the technology is going to keep growing, and it's going to be not in a linear fashion, it's going to be more of an exponential fashion. It's going to keep growing. Your customer focus and your customer retention will have to be your prime focus. So at the end of the day, as a telecom carrier, you'll not really have to improve your cloud infrastructure, which you're going to support your end customers with multiple services. You'll have to make sure your data protection is well, because at the end of the day, you're going to receive a lot of data, which is going to be churned out by the 5G and going to go in output in terms of an AI or ML or any other services or any other faction. So that data has to be protected. So the telecom carrier will have to make sure that he is able to have enough I would say servers and switches to make sure that those data are protected. Possibly the service mitigation and network issues will have to be more finely looked into the whole process, because at the end of the day, as even Nishtha mentioned, that tomorrow when something goes down, you have a satellite connection available in 4 minutes. You can actually start connecting to people, or if there's an accident that happens. So somewhere down the line, even when you're offering 5G, your network infrastructure to support and have a parallel local loop or possibly have a parallel redundancy inbuilt with your system, so that it switches over to the next part to make sure that the connection is there. That has to be taken care of. You'll have to make sure that your integrity of the infrastructure that you're holding, not only just in terms of your switches and routers and the technology that you're offering to your customer, is I would say duplicated or triplicated at the end of the day, which I may say. And you have to run all these systems in real time. And when you're talking about 5G, like I would look at it even at there was a couple of these incidences which happened, accidents which happened, road rash incidents which happened. So at times you're able to capture the right data and see the right culprit. If there is any crime that happens across in the city, which may be a big crime that happens across, at least you're able to, see the crime and churn that back and give a clear output at the end of the day. So when you're looking at 5G enhanced user experience, the telecom carrier will also have to make sure that they pull up their socks in the right manner, just to make sure that at least at the end of the day, their end users get something which is better than the best. It's not going to be just the best that you're going to offer. You're going to have it better than the best. So keeping that in mind, that is going to basically add or enrich the end customer user and his usage patterns, wherein he will pump in more revenue to you because he's going to have a lovely service. If he's going to have a good support infrastructure, if he's going to get what he wants to have at the blink of his eye, I'm sure India is a rich country, and we will be able for sure to support everything going forward. So that's what I feel in terms of a telecom carrier, or my perspective towards the end customer usage.
ESPs have to invest. Okay, Sandeep.
Yeah, I would just complement a couple more things to what Vinod just said. There's a lot of learning that telecom operators are doing from the IT world these days, because in some ways, they're going through this telco to techco kind of transition. And I'll call out a few things here. When you would have purchased your first laptop, maybe 25 years back, I'm not guessing anybody's age on the call, just saying. Think of the whole experience. The amount of admin work that you had to do as a user, right? The installing of updates, making sure the software is running properly, any fixes, etc. Fast forward today, all of that happens automatically in the background, and you don't even notice it. So networks are going through a similar journey, where things are becoming much more self-healing, much more autonomous in the entire operations. That is one way in which telecom operators are catering to becoming more secure and more user-friendly in the end. Second thing I would add here is this whole concept of network slicing. With the 5G rollouts, a lot of new capabilities have come in. One of which is this thing called network slicing, which is essentially about using the same physical infrastructure, but dividing it into small virtual slices, and you can use each slice for a different purpose and have a different quality of service. For example, you can use one slice in a smart factory, automating machine kind of situation, another slice for self-driving car kind of pilots, another slide for smart gaming or in a stadium entertainment kind of experiences, and still ensure very secure, very, very personalized user experience in all of these. So those, I would say, are a couple of technology ways in which there is a bit of synergy of learning what worked really well in IT and bringing it into the telecom networks, and ultimately have a more secure, much more user-friendly experience for the customers.
Learning from IT. Okay, Akhil.
Maybe we can look at the role of telecom in handling disasters, especially considering how crucial it is. Maybe with some examples. Dileep, do you want to go first?
Yeah. When a disaster is going to happen, like let's say a sudden flood is going to come, so we all have mobile phones which will be handheld with us. So if we can have a user interface where we get early alert messages directly to us, but it will come through us through news or something else. But if it comes directly as a message for us, and the awareness will be much more easier for everyone to understand, and that will be sent through a genuine, authentic channel, not like a forward message or something else. So that kind of system one can be done, and then coordination among the rescue. When any
do we have any system like that in place right now?
So I'm not sure about that, but definitely the technical possibilities are there. Theoretically, it's possible, but practically, we don't see that happening. When there should be a coordination between the policymakers, again, the set of messages to be sent.
It's there in some other countries, right?
Yeah,
I think Japan and all that.
Yeah, we see that like upcoming now. We don't know what kind of, based on the geographical area, we can spot out based on priority 1 to 5. So that can happen anytime. So that can be taken care one. It's possible. Other one is the coordination issue. When anything happens like the panic attack like this during disasters, there will be no coordination among one-to-one. Even if you see the family will get spillover or like scattered around, and the people who are supporting them doesn't understand where exactly they need. The coordination problems are there, so this can be taken care. One possible opportunity we have, and then we don't understand the real-time scenario. We just have the specs saying that this way it is going on, that way it's going on, and we don't know what is the actual scenario. So with the help of the technology, we also have to gaze and understand what exactly is the real-time scenario with it, in terms of handling the disasters, and then what to be done, what exactly need to be done is to be disseminated for all the users. So that also has to be done, because there's a disaster, what to be done, nobody knows that, what exactly to be done. So that information to be passed on to each user. So that way we can able to do it. And I see the theoretical potential of something like fixed wireless access FWA in terms of 5G, which will definitely connect, bridge the 5G as well as the satellite. So it will bridge the satellite and 5G both. So in that way, we can able to plug and play, and it will be much more convenient, and it will be smart enough. If not disasters, also we can able to use that use case as a smart home and IoT enabled homes. That way, the technology can be emerged in handling the disasters with the help of 5G.
Nishtha?
Any examples?
So I'll maybe like to answer it as a proactive disaster management, how we can avoid altogether these disasters by knowing it well in time. So particularly satellite industry really helps in, for example, better weather forecasting. So companies, our startup companies like Galaxy Eye, Sohora, Pixel, they are working tirelessly to get the right forecasting of the weather done, the earth done. So we know when the earthquake can come, or we would know when the disaster is bound to happen. So we are well prepared. And this is possible only when we have the latency part addressed with this kind of a technology. So all of these things become, kind of a part of an ecosystem where we are addressing the bigger need of reducing these disaster management. It's one is when disaster has happened, and like I said, terminals are like that you can just go and plug and play and start communicating and managing the thing. But we are also helping to not have a disaster. So that is where I think two-pronged approach is what government, organizations, and everybody us have to take that.
Anything to add to that?
No, I guess she's covered most of the point, and I think that proactive approach towards the situation is actually where we will all be heading to, where that proactive approach in terms of making sure that you stopped a disaster, or you stopped an error that is supposed to happen, or a mistake that is supposed to happen, and you're able to stop that using technology, will actually be the right approach to look at the market. I think that's well said by Nishtha.
Okay. Vinod, to respect to your previous question and you were talking about it, I know nowadays people are talking about, of course, 4K is now, a lot of people are beginning to use it, 8K people are talking about and all that. Our infrastructure and all that, what kind of changes will that require? And of course, people are also now, remote work and all that is a thing. What do you think about the infrastructure and what changes required?
I'll tell you from because Telecom Italia is more of a carrier's carrier. So what we've noticed, what was usually happening, I would say 2 years back or 3 years back. Just to give an example, typically when a carrier would select a circuit, that means they would select the circuit which is going to go from location A to location B. There is always a local loop factor, which is the last mile that comes across to the end user's house or the end user's office. Now, what carriers are offering these days is, as a part of their solution, is that they are offering redundancy in terms of local loop. So what they're doing is they're making sure that you have an uptime of 99.9%. Now, when we talk about 99.9%, it appears to be very nice, because at the end of the day, it's like, close to perfection. But it's still like 4.5 hours of downtime. Now, 4.5 hours of downtime, if you can absorb in a day or in a month, is a different calculation. So we should be talking about 99.99% uptime. So when even carriers ask for solution which they want to deliver to their end customer, which may be say a stockbroking firm which wants to have a connectivity. Now over here, when you look at the performance, a difference of 4 seconds can change the price in the market, and you're going to basically have to fight to make sure that if your circuit was down for even 10 minutes, you would have lost a couple of lakhs of rupees or crores of rupees at the end of the day. So when you look at your 4K and 8K video transmission which are going to come across, work from home which is going to come across, so telecom carriers have already started deploying redundancy when it comes to local loop, making sure that they've got alternate paths through alternate cable systems, so that at the end of the day, if one cable system has got because most of the cable system which goes under the sea are all linear cable system. They don't have redundancy. It's just one small fiber which runs across millions of kilometers. So they are looking at alternate routes to be filled inside, because it's no longer that it's like a Google or it's a Microsoft which is having a database to cater to their customers. But all these carriers, all these I would say OTTs and hyperscalers, they have put up their cache servers in various parts of the world. So like though I may be at one of the top ISPs, 5 ISPs in the world, but if you look at Google, and if you look at Akamai, and you look at Amazon and the Microsofts, they've got their cache servers which are there in India. So what happens with that is that when the end user wants to access, say, a particular URL that he wants to access, he doesn't have to travel from India to Italy to access a Google server over there. He can just access the Google server which is there, based out from Mumbai, because he's based out from Mumbai, and the router is intelligent enough to start and understand that the lowest path available to me is Mumbai. So instead of traveling 130 milliseconds, he would travel only 1 millisecond and get the information. So you see, at the end of the day, the whole infrastructure is now grown to a level where all these carriers, all these service providers, hyperscalers, OTT, I would say content database in the market, which is there in terms of data or information, let it be gaming ones or let it be your Amazon websites, they all have their cache servers which are installed in the country. So your access is much faster. So at the end of the day, they are all working towards that. And, as I told you, redundancy is one part of it, making sure that you're closer to your customer, making sure that your access is much more smarter, faster, better to your end customer is what the customer wants. And that's what the telecom user or the telecom carrier on the back end has to work towards. And that's what is happening also with the example that I mentioned.
Okay, fascinating. Okay.
Maybe we can touch on data privacy issues. Personalization, all of this personalization also means that telecom service providers have to deal with huge amounts of personalized data of consumers, right? So how are all of you going to ensure data privacy, data security? Are you just going to hire a lot of cybersecurity professionals? Sandeep, do you want to maybe start?
Yeah, a couple of things, Akhil. It really starts with having some kind of a foundational data governance, right? Just making sure that you have good policies about where you house your data, where it travels, who has access to it, etc. Start with that. Then you also looking at really implementing some measures like how do you make sure that everything is encrypted, the user access, all of those. You implement all of those things well. And then, while you do that, implementing all of these policies and procedures is fine, but it all falls flat if you do not educate your employees well. So a lot of focus on making sure that the employees very well understand what the new security posture looks like, what are the do's and don'ts, and they understand it in a very simple way, because this tends to be a very, very complex domain, which not most people follow. So those are a few ways in which, Akhil, I would say operators are addressing and making sure that data is being addressed in the right way.
Who else wants to take that? Anybody on data?
Nishtha.
Yeah. Okay, so from our perspective, first thing what we are doing is we are keeping, that's the commitment to the government. We have given that our gateway are in the country. So we have like a couple of gateways and the POP. We have built the entire infrastructure, spent huge money just to make sure that the data of our Indian customers remain in India. So that's the very first step for the data security. Second step comes with these law enforcement agencies who have very strict guidelines. We as an organization, of course, are committed, and every organization should be committed to follow those guidelines. And as a citizen of the nation, I personally feel that's very, very important what we are committing to the government. So we are following all those guidelines, which are pretty stringent. So government is really doing its bit for the data security. Third is, as it's more about what information we are collecting from the consumer. Do we really want to collect each and everything? Means at one place we have said, okay, please give your date of birth. And in the third, we are saying, okay, you tell us age also. Why? Because we are just adding more line items in our database. We don't need that. So we need to be very smart in asking what we are asking from the customer. Rather, we need to be in the generative AI cases. Just don't take anything and just do your analytics, because even while the searching behavior, what this customer age would be or what the customer gender would be. There are pretty easy ways of now identifying rather than collecting the data like that. So we need to be smart enough in finding out the data. Unnecessarily, please do not, because it becomes a liability on the organizations also to protect the data. So all of these things do matter. Security is very, very important while we are living in a global world, but we need to secure ourselves.
We need to secure ourselves, collect as little information as possible, educate your employees. Dileep, tell us, all of this requires a lot of talent. How's academia? Are there good enough courses now? How are you making your students future ready?
Yeah, academia is going a lot now with NEP coming into picture, new education policy coming into picture, where the number of credits has been reduced from around 180 to 160, and 160 to still lower. And a lot of cross-domain and interdisciplinary skills are coming up, where we have the students with different skill set has to be learned. Even they have yoga, they have music and all that. So having said that, coming to the tech part, where we need to forecast what tech they need to be upgraded, what skills they need to be upgraded, because there's a myth that the AI is going to ruin all the jobs. I put it like this. So say there's a competition between not AI and human. The competition between human who know AI and human who don't know AI. How they leverage that and use it. So there we have to upgrade the skills for the students, and they need to know both the ways. One, traditional way of coding and doing the things. Two, they need to also know how to leverage the AI and use it. I put up these points like this, like the academia in terms of innovations. We need to motivate the students to do the research. Research is not taken as a part by most of the students. That's why Government of India came up with research with integrating PhD as well after the BTech with masters. That is one we have to take up. The research culture has to come in our education system, where we have our own patents, our own articles, so that Western countries can follow in future, because we have a lot of manpower and skill, but that's not been tapped rightly, and we miss out the opportunities. They are very hungry now. The students are tech hungry. They need a lot of understanding about it. Once we give the proper problem statement from any industry and channelize them properly for 6 months to 1 year, so there's a potential we can have the startup coming up from their side with a small idea. They can emerge. To do that, I have these followed steps. One traditional approach we follow the first year, the academics of 4-year engineering. Second, we need to inculcate the hybrid skills for them. So where they should not be emotionally low, or they should know how to communicate that. So they are overconfident, some of them are very low confidence they have. So we need to balance them, and we need to engage them with everyone, because they come up from different backgrounds. That is one, they have to do it. Then from our side as a teachers, we need to upgrade the curriculum. So what we have studied maybe 5-10 years back is being still taught. That's not the case for the industry, will not say no. That's why we need to upgrade ourselves. Say, for example, in case of 5G, we are teaching now. Down the line, we have to teach 5G advanced, and we have to be ready with 6G specs also coming up in future with AI. So all that we need to upgrade ourselves and update the curriculum as well as curriculum we have to upgrade. And we need to be regularly in touch with the industry, and we need to have a lot of collaborations from industry and academia And then we also have to do experiential learning where the students has to experience it. Say a doctor will be a house surgeon, will understand what exactly the patient is going live. But unfortunately, fortunately, we don't have that kind of complete system. The student doesn't experience what exactly is happening with 5G or telco. Theoretically, he'll be strong at, but there are some setbacks where everyone will experience. Luckily, we are in Bangalore. We are fortunate with a lot of tech companies around us. We have the opportunity to visit them and understand. So we are blessed when we have the opportunity in Bangalore. And finally, interdisciplinary approach and cross-sectional learning has to be done, where I learn something and I should not say that I only learned this, I cannot able to upgrade myself. So they should know what exactly is coming up in the future, and we need to educate them to learn and be proactive in terms of learning.
Okay. Sandeep, you want to make a quick point? I know we are out of time, but quick point.
Yeah, we are really out of time, but quickly adding just one part to Dr. Dileep's comment here. I think, especially with the backdrop of the ambition that government has set up for us to be leaders in 6G standard definition, not just adopting the technology, I think the collaboration between academia and industry becomes increasingly important with that angle. So that is one area where expect to see more collaborations, more research-based projects, more labs, especially in the context of 6G. That I think is one area where you will see a slightly different flavor of academia industry collaboration happening in future.
Okay, collaboration important. Akhil, one last question.
We can. Oh, sorry, I lost it. 1 second.
I just wanted to ask you, all of you, one innovation from telecom service providers that will dominate the consumer landscape in the coming years. From each of you, quickly. What do you think? Nishtha, you want to go first?
I think it has to be AI because we are just transforming the world with the AI.
AI. Okay. Vinod?
I would say that somewhere down the line, like as you have seen the technology grow, we need to start teaching the basics of AI, the basics of machine learning. If we can do it around the 8 standard types of stuff, it will really help each and every kid grow, because by the time he reaches to the level where he's going to do engineering, he is well averse with what he's going to learn or what he's learned and how he's going to apply it into the system. So that getting into the early education part of the system will really be very helpful. And that will be from telecom side also, and also from the government side, which I feel is something which is to be looked into.
Okay, again, AI. Dileep?
Yeah, I have to go with AI, but as Nishtha has taken it off, so I go with edge computing, where people has to, the technology has to be learned and the edge decisions has to be taken at the real time. So edge computing with, there's a lot of fusion of all this edge computing, blockchain and IoT. All the technologies has to talk together with the help of APIs. Then it'll be much more interesting world what we are expecting. So one edge computing and cloud.
Edge computing. Sandeep?
All right, Sujit, I'm going to take you back to the movie Minority Report. I've been following AR, VR technology for the last 15 years. I think we're very close to having this tech having its day in the sun. So my bet will be 5G enabled AR, VR type of experiences coming really soon.
Okay, 5G enabled AR, VR. Okay, AI and edge computing. Yeah, a fascinating world emerging. And like all of you said at the beginning, I mean, AI, of course, is going to be very much a part of that. Very personalized kind of offerings that telecom is going to enable with the kind of technologies that are emerging. And that's the world that we're going to enter. And telecom service providers need to make a lot of investments and changes in order to get there. Consumers want it. So thanks a lot, Nishtha, Sandeep, Dileep, Vinod. Really nice having you on this platform. Really great discussion. Hope to see you again sometime. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Sujit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nishtha. Thank you, Vinod.